Hey guys, Matt Krieger with Monkey Business Franchising. We're going to put out a blog article today on business coaches. And I'm a big believer in business coaches. I have a couple myself. And I think it's nothing that anybody really ever tells you when you're getting ready to open a business or when you're buying a business, whatever it may be, really ever talks about. But really what I kind of found when I started my business is there's some loneliness that kind of creeps in. And not loneliness from necessarily working at home, although there is some of that, but loneliness from being really kind of the sole decision maker in this organization. And, specifically, when you're starting out a franchise, for the most part, you're not going to have, a director of operations, a chief operations officer, anything like that, director of sales. You're not going to have anybody that has a whole lot of, executive experience within your organization. And so a lot of those decisions are completely left up to you. And to make it even worse, I guess, if that's the word I want to use, a lot of those decisions are in areas that you're not comfortable with. For instance, I'm a CPA. I'd never made high-level sales and marketing decisions before, and all of a sudden now I'm kind of thrust in this organization and I have to make those. And so really one of the things that I found was what worked for me was finding some business coaches out there. And it's not like I actively kind of sought that, but as I would sit down and talk with people, I would realize, boy, this has been a great conversation. It's been, excuse me, a really valuable conversation. And so based off those conversations, I kind of thought, well, wouldn't this be great if I could have somebody that I could talk about with this on a weekly or a monthly or a quarterly basis? And so I do have a couple different coaches. One that's more of a weekly coach that I'm talking to about weekly issues, on a much more detailed level about maybe issues I'm having with employees, issues I'm having with marketing, and not necessarily issues. I don't want to construe it all as negative. There's positive things too. There's a lot of things that we've looked to put out there, a lot of plans that we've looked to put in place, initiatives that we're looking to put in place, and so really kind of talking through those with him, and then really kind of coming back to my organization and my team, and kind of starting to implement some of those things. And then another lady I was introduced to that I talk about this in the article. She helped grow a franchise system from 0 units 1 unit all the way up to over 120 units by the time it's sold. And I don't talk to her on a weekly basis, but we probably talk on a quarterly basis. And she's been valuable too. And she's more valuable on a much higher scale where we're talking about issues, as terms of, how do we want to structure our sales process, And so we're not necessarily going into the details of, well, should I provide this document or this document, and what should we talk about on this call? We're not necessarily going at that level, but we're talking about overall, what should that whole process look like? So that's been really helpful to me. It's really helpful to talk to somebody on a weekly basis. It's really helpful to talk to somebody on a quarterly basis. I don't know if you probably could have enough business coaches, but I think, probably cutting it off at 3 or 4 is probably where you want to be. But even having one is a great idea. And in the article, we talk about a couple characteristics that I think are really important when you're evaluating who should be a business coach. Because when you're going to have this relationship, it'll be a pretty personal relationship. I think a lot of people don't realize, especially, as you're starting out, your business and your personal life kind of get interwoven a lot. And so as a result, you're probably going to be talking about some pieces of your personal life with this person. And so I think that there's some important things that you should keep in mind when you're trying to find the best, or not the best, but a good business coach for yourself. Another thing is where do you find this business coach? And we kind of talk about that too. I was really lucky that I have somebody I've worked with that's kind of walked down the same path I'm walking down, that is really a good coach for me. So like I said, I was kind of lucky in that respect. But I think a lot of people out there, whether they realize it or not, I think once they start thinking about it, have some people like that in their lives that would be a good business coach for them. So read the article, reach out to me with any questions. I'm happy to kind of give you more of my story or what works for me, discuss what may work for you. So thanks for watching.